Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. So, welcome to another video on Sword of Convallaria here. Truth be told, I wasn't expecting to even make another video about this until I got to the final review on the whole thing, thinking I was just going to go blitz through the story and whatever else, and that would be that, but it has continuously surprised me. And specifically, there's two things that I wanted to mention here today that kind of prompted this video in the first place, which is A, the sheer amount of mission variety in this game, which frankly, I don't think I've seen an SRPG with this much mission variety. And we're not talking about like just single one-off variations of something. We're talking about cases like FFTA 2, where it regularly just comes up with completely new mechanics for ways to use the chessboard here. Where, for example, right here, we're basically playing Overcooked with swords, where it's a bunch of people in the beggar's line waiting to get supplies while wolves are attacking. We've got cases where, like, one of the missions earlier involved a boss that wasn't quite built yet. So if you end up going and blitzing the thing with your aces, like if you happen to be in just the right moment to be able to go get there, you can stop a boss fight from happening, but if you end up taking too long, or end up getting bogged down in some way, you actually have one hell of a difficult fight on your hands. And this has been like the very pleasant surprise that we've been seeing here, that at every turn it seems like it has more to offer in terms of mission variety and just cool ideas. Like we've seen the one earlier where it just involved being a bodyguard for somebody, where it essentially was just people in the church trying to do their job and aggressive people going and trying to do something there. There were cases like in a few missions ago where there was a mission in which your leader is essentially just going around giving commands, teaching people how to use their units. So like in that particular case, you're dealing with whatever your faction is of the day. In my case, it was the Papal States, and in their particular case, they were effectively just needing help with raising some of their lower end units, right? And just kind of training up new rookies and whatnot. And so it turns into the sort of tower defense thing, where they've got a tower that you're supposed to be defending, and then units that will spawn depending on your commands. Depending on how many points you want to wait, how many turns it takes to wait, you have almost no inputs on that map except for shouting commands from the cliff, and frankly, that is a cool idea for a mission. And this mission variety, in terms of just like protecting units in different situations, keeping units at bay in different situations, there's been so much variety here, it's unreal. Frankly, again, I don't think I've seen an SRPG with this much variety before. It's nuts. So, yeah, first of all, absolute friggin' props on that one. They really, really actually, put a whole effort there. So that part has genuinely been surprising. Wait, why would I want to shoot her? Why? It's Archer. Why are you trying to shoot our dude? Anyway... but yeah, on top of that, there's been a surprising amount of interaction with the reputation system here. So with the reputation system, it's something that's come up every now and then. I figured it would be there strictly for route splits, but actually, depending on reputation, you've got backup that's showing up on maps. You actually even have different town interactions that end up happening. So that part has also been pretty surprising. So again, very pleasant to see so many interactions going on with the world, where if you walk around your town, it does legitimately feel different. In fact, even if you do missions for random merchants, they actually show up and stay in town for a while. Again, I was expecting that to just be flavor text, but they legitimately just stick around for a bit and just kind of sell stuff while you're there. So cool to see all of that kind of stuff. You love to see it. But on top of that, where does this game get off, finally having a good story all of a sudden? Like, that part, again, took me by surprise, because the beginning felt very cookie-cutter. It felt very, again, cookie-cutter is probably the way to put it. You're part of a group, you have your town being burned down, the usual, right? And then, lo and behold, it gets more and more in-depth as time goes on, where just as everything's carrying on, you end up running into, let's say, different villagers that are just trying to survive, and they're just going and doing their thing, but they'll show up to help you during fights. But you get the sense of like, okay, maybe this is a little bit harsher than expected. And then a little while later, it's like, okay, hold on, those villagers have now started transforming into monstrosities. In the background, you're seeing villagers are piling up as sick and/or cursed units in the church and whatnot. And like this constant little quiet buildup of different bits and pieces does a surprisingly good job of world building to up the stakes in that particular scenario, which was a think of the cult from Resident Evil 4, the Los Illuminados. Imagine what would happen if they attacked a medieval city. That's basically what the third act was like, where at first you're seeing people turning up sick, and they can't really seemingly be cured. Then the church gets involved in if you went and got help from them earlier. So now they're trying all their healing spells and stuff. That's not working either. At which point they try combining the two, and then it kind of sort of works a little bit, but not really. At which point you end up finding the cultists who are going and basically doing human experiments on people. So you start shutting down their labs and such, at which point they start showing up with like literal friggin', explodey vests and whatnot. So like it just gets more and more dire with ridiculously huge numbers as the fights go on, like to the point where they're like, here's 5 units and you're fighting like 30. Have fun with that. As it carries on, and it leads to these really fun cathartic fights where you're just setting the entire map on fire just to watch all the cultists burn and whatnot. Again, genuinely cool stuff there. So as it carries on, though, there's this little, a couple of plot lines, and this is kind of the part that surprised me. Those couple of plot lines involved a really annoying lady from the very start of the game, and additionally a child. Now, obviously, when it comes to child storylines in any one of these games, they're always going to be a tearjerker because they never go well. But specifically, just why are you guys being jerks to absolutely everybody that pops up? I'm pretty sure this is just a little bit preachy, but like. These guys are just being assholes to everybody that shows up for whatever reason. Anyway, so this little girl there, right? She's essentially talking from the very beginning about how she wants to go meet up with her parents. So, like, okay, where did you see them? Oh, we saw them over here. Okay, so we'll go check it out. So they go to check it out, and nothing really happens, but in the dead bodies, there is the remains of a type of bracelet that they had. So, typical kind of sad time story device. Okay, so they lost one of their parents there, we're going to find the other one, right? So a few missions pass by, obviously spoilers at this point, but you find the other one on another experiment, at which point, it's pretty clear what ended up happening there. So her parents aren't coming back, but every time that she's in a cutscene, and this is like every 3 or so cutscenes, she's just there. Every time that there's another cutscene, she's just there, oh, can I go see my parents now? Can I go see my parents now? And they keep lying to her, because they find out this information, but they want to make sure that she's not giving up, because she's sort of responding to the medicine a little bit. So they keep doing this over and over. Every character just kind of gets their sort of morality check as it goes on. As they're like, oh, should we tell them? Nah, that would ruin their morale. What about you? Oh, well, my religion demands that I tell them, but maybe you shouldn't because that's going to make them die. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't. So they all just keep backing down from telling her, right? And so finally, we get to a little bit where it seems like they're going to be getting better. It seems like they're going to... It seems like they're going to go down that route of everything getting better. Until suddenly, all of the cultists are dealt with. All of the war is over. All of the reinforcements have shown up, and she's still there, not feeling good. And all the characters walk in to have another conversation. And she, they're all trying to cheer her up and everything. She's like, no, guys, it's okay. I just need the candy today. I don't need the medicine. Oh, why? No, you need to take your medicine. No, guys, it's okay. I need to go see my parents. Dude, that's so fucked up. That moment got me. I was like, oh my god, the little kid figured it out, and that is heartbreaking. So, genuinely solid things. Like, we're talking that they managed to stick that thread over the course of, probably 10, 15 cutscenes. They let that scene breathe and actually had a payoff there. There's actual good stuff put in here as far as the writing's concerned. I think some of the earlier stilted stuff might have just been translation, because while there was some awkward delivery there, as far as the wording and whatever, that was pretty damn legit, I gotta say. So, wait, what do they got? Well, then he needs medicine, people. Although it seems like you can just kind of park everybody on these tiles and It just sort of solves itself. So which one's it going to be? You're going to give them their stuff or what? Oh, we got to specifically pick the tile. Okay, fine. Well, let's go ahead and give them the medicine tile, I suppose. So yeah, ultimately, yeah, the kiddo there in that case doesn't end up making it. But the weird part is they actually kind of almost made me care about one of the most annoying characters in this thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Overly cheery sword lady does kind of bug me, considering that her entire combat role is just Sparta kicking stuff to death. Seems super weird, but whatever. This Fakel guy, he's constantly sent on away missions because I think he sucks. But as far as that one lady goes, the random noble lady. There we go. He got all of his stuff. Fantastic. Yeah, this dude sucks. Him and his stupid haircut need to get out of our town. Anyway, so what was I getting at? So annoying noble lady, right? So she shows up in cutscenes every now and then, and she has been another one of those cases where they actually managed to hold a plot line for a really long period of time and actually pay it off to some degree. I'm pretty sure there's more coming on that one. But in her particular case, what happens is that she basically shows up like a lost puppy the first time that you get into town. She's one of the first people that you save, and she regularly shows up in town being whiny and complaining about things. And I mentioned early on, I freaking hate that lady, because she just shows up and whines and complains and then just acts all sad and wants a pat on the head. Basically, again, the epitome of lost puppy. The thing is, though, they sort of paid that off. Because a few scenes later, I mean, I don't think I addressed this last time, but a few scenes later, they have a moment where she shows up, she's about to go leave with all of her refugee rebel friends, and they all keep making excuses as to why she should stay in town. At which point you show up, and they're like, well, so you're forgetting one, or are you forgetting your lost puppy? And they're like, no, dude, this lady absolutely sucks ass at everything that she does. She like took a week's vacation from cutting herself on some weeds. She tried to I think it was something like go clean some clothes and ended up setting them on fire or something. Just like a comically long list of just being terrible at everything forever. And again, it was surprising to me that they actually managed to kind of thread the needle there, that like ultimately they end up abandoning her in your town. That's the only reason that she stays here, because they just don't want her because she sucks too bad at everything and she's annoying. Which, yeah, totally is. I agree, random NPCs. I totally agree. And so yeah, she ends up getting lost in the town. But this is about the time that cult outbreak starts, and so everybody is popping up sick or dead or whatever else, and so that's when they start popping into the sanctuary here, which just kind of becomes a hospital. And as time goes on, you see all of the pews start filling up with more dead and dying, which again is a very FFT-esque scene to me. There, that one scene where you see everybody massacred in a church, it reminded me a ton of that one. But yeah, you just see all the bodies piling up there, and then she ends up just being one of the random spare hands to show up and help. And she doesn't help particularly well, but she is still a spare set of hands when they're overwhelmed, right? And so as all of this stuff goes on, she becomes more and more attached to this scene with the little kid. She's usually the main one showing up there, trying to cheer them up and lying to them. And they're also the one to end up getting the news that, kid's done with existing, basically. Like, dude, it's surprisingly good as far as gut-wrenching moments go. And I also, shoot, one more thing I forgot. You know how I was talking about the mission variety earlier? One of those cool things, that training mission I was talking about, it came right alongside, and I should mention this for the sake of pacing, it came right alongside that one boss mission that was too much for anyone other than the aces of the team to actually take on. And the aces were just completely spent by that point due to having a ton of story missions back to back. It felt very much like if you were doing Door Trade City and then you just suddenly lost half your team right before it. It felt like that kind of moment. Like, you can see the openings there to actually win that thing, but just the materials were not readily available at that time to make it happen. The cool part was, though, this other mission happens right alongside that mission there, meaning that effectively you can take this cool alternate mission, let all of your best people rest in order to be prepared for further stuff down the line, and unlike many that I've seen in this kind of particular vein, there doesn't seem to be any kind of punishment for potentially skirting some of the harder stuff, for the moment to go, maybe catch up for it later. And that's actually, it's felt very, again, XCOM 2 in that way, where, as opposed to, let's say, in XCOM 1, where you're not obligated to take the win, that you are occasionally able to kind of like duck out and accept take an L every now and then, for the purpose of continuing on later. Like, it's pretty solid as far as that goes. Additionally, quality of life stuff. I was expecting that characters would start falling off in terms of levels and things, especially once the recruits started showing up at about half the level of everybody else. I really thought that these would keep up a little bit more, but the whole experience training thing, look at that. I didn't even realize at the time they're like doubling their frickin' level when you're going and putting them in this. That they will completely catch up to the level curve whenever you throw them into training for experience. I don't know why this isn't the standard, but you basically have a soft level cap that's constantly following you around, and they'll just go ahead and match it as soon as you throw them in there. So, like, Michelle over here is one of the aces of the team, but the actual progression from the story hasn't been giving them enough experience to really reach the top of the level curve there. But, for example, they would be able to take some training to go catch up. Unfortunately, we spent some money on recruits earlier, so I don't have enough money to necessarily keep going for that. I wonder if I have anything... Shoot. Well, I guess I don't have enough money to do much of anything. Well, we'll find a merchant and sell something. Another thing I should point out, custom skills. So you get these random skill scrolls and stuff as you're traveling along and going on different missions and whatnot, and you can just give custom skills to people, which is also pretty darn cool. So, again, there's mechanics. There's a huge amount of mission variety. There's actually decent writing happening, and it feels like your town is going and changing as time progresses. Like... this is a whole-ass proper game, and I definitely underestimated it, I gotta say. It's shocking to me. I'll just go ahead and sell that thing. That's a decent chunk of change, I suppose. How much is this? Ooh, I can actually sell that for a pretty decent penny, because we're pretty dang near maxed out on wood earlier, so we can probably make a decent chunk of change off this, so go ahead and sell that. Perfect. So yeah, while you do see the very slight trappings of some mobile stuff in terms of, icons being potentially reused for certain things, you see the occasional bug, sure, but this has been surprising. This game has actually tried a lot. It succeeded a lot. And really the only thing I can actually genuinely complain about it has been just the whole mobile game section of it. Like, there's a proper whole-ass game here. And I hope that when it comes out on consoles and whatnot, I hope it manages to ditch all that stuff and just have a full regular purchase. Because if this was a single-player, just by itself experience, good. This would be great as just a single-player type of thing by itself. There's absolutely no need for the mobile stuff whatsoever. Frankly, you could just skip all that, make it just an intro, and just forget it ever happened. Hell, skip all of that and just start it as you as the mercenary leader there, and you're done. Like, there you go, single-player mode achieved. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. And to this point, I've still seen regular scenes where there's still custom animations happening in scenes, still cinematography happening in scenes, still props being used in scenes. It's just... again, it feels like this was a single-player game first and then could only have been achieved by just taking a deal with the devil with the whole mobile game thing. What can I say? What can I say? It's surprisingly been a winner so far, and it's actually one of the very few cases I've seen where I'm actually kind of okay siding with the religious faction in this case, because they do make a legitimately good argument for their faction. Like, partway through, actually, there's a bit of a disagreement that happens between the sort of rebel faction, what's left of the Aryan town there, as well as the church, because the church essentially bails them out, saves them during their issues, and it's actually cool to see that the person that's essentially characterized as an overachiever here with Samantha regularly goes and shows up in random battles and whatnot, and just basically serves as their town's Batman for a while. So through all of this whole thing, like, the church shows up at the very end. They're like, we're going to go ahead and just set up in your town now. We're going to go ahead and start dealing stuff out. And at that point, it ends up changing to a situation where the rebels are suddenly pissed because they're like, we fought and died for the town. What the hell do you mean you're taking over? And it basically turns into a thing over kind of who you want to side with there. But like the whole argument of, well, yeah, they're only here to basically give out supplies. They're the only ones with the manpower to give out supplies. Like, you don't exactly know that they're trustworthy, but you at least know a couple people that are trustworthy, and those are mostly going to be the people in charge. Like, the fact that the little nitty-gritty nuances to the politics are actually addressed, I love to see that. There's a lot of kind of going back to interpersonal relationships between those characters. I'm not saying it's, again, perfect writing by any means, but the fact that there's that same mentality of going back and checking on the details, I wasn't expecting that from this. I really expected this to just go back into a generic story by now, and it hasn't. It's gotten better. Also, let's see. Do we hunt down the dude or not hunt down the dude? For context over what they're talking about, there's one faction leader from the cult that was left, who is he's basically Nybeth for all intents and purposes. Fernando is basically Nybeth. But he's actually a threat in this case. I have a feeling she would leave and probably die or something if this happens. And realistically, if the crazy murder death cult showed up, yeah, it probably would chase down the dude in this case. Anyway. Or wait, I guess he escaped or something. I don't know, I wasn't reading it. Okay. Let's see. I forget whatever's going on here. I guess they're done with that scene. I don't know. Kind of lost track. But okay, so ultimately, yeah, I just wanted to make this video to say that, yeah, the amount of pleasantly surprised going on in this game has been, well, frankly, very surprising. The amount of mechanics, the kind of cool town mechanics and whatever else. While I know that there's definitely a lot of this that probably was inspired by Last Spell, it does feel like they still do interesting stuff here. Like, for example, if you go with the religious folks, you get more slots for this, which basically allows you to have more kind of temporary buffs that you give people. So, like, for example, my tank guy regularly ends up getting himself a shield, in which case, here, oh, actually, I picked the wrong one. Hold on. Well, he does strike back, so we'll go ahead and give him this one. So he blocks and he counters. But for your other ones, let's go ahead and give that to this one, because she's in friggin' every fight. But, like, if you go with the religious folks, you get a choice over which of the random things you go with. So, like, in this case, you get Shelter, which more or less starts them off with a mana shield. So that's always just kind of good to have. Or just random buffs at the start of your fight and stuff like that. Like, again, good things there. Like, hell, even XCOM-like items over, like, heals plus buffs and whatever else. It's all felt very familiar. It's felt like a very solid mishmash of a lot of very familiar things that are very comfortable. In a very pleasant way. So, I don't know if this necessarily helps. There really wasn't much of a purchase decision to make in the first place, considering there's nothing to purchase, and objectively, you probably shouldn't purchase anything, even though, like, man, there's a genuinely good game here. I wish it was more... it felt less scummy to go and support the thing. Because it's weird. It's like, you know what? If this was a genuine, full, whole-ass, legit release, I would want to go support it as much as possible. And then you look at the monetization model, and it's like... Also, fuck that, though. It's such a weird feeling, you know? Anyway, so that's about that. I gotta get going. So, y'all have yourselves a good one. Take care, and I will see you in the next one of whatever it happens to be. Alright, y'all take care. Bye.